Where there's a plot, there better be a climax. And trust me, you'll be exploding multiple times in this one. All seriousness, guys, I don't think the Imminence Shadow gets enough credit for what they are able to do. It's kind of like an Inception. Like the main character knows he's in an isekai and is literally role-playing it himself. So why does that make it amazing? The fact that it's self-aware of itself and does every single thing that we love in anime is what makes it amazing. And this episode personifies that. It's perfection. Spoiler alert, guys. This episode is the best episode of the entire anime series up to this point. This is season 2, episode 3 of The Imminence Shadow, The Hour of Awakening. You guys are totally missing out if you're not caught up. So, if you guys watched the previous 2 episodes and then finish this one back to back to back, then you can appreciate each episode's quality and the emotional swings that it takes you on. Now that's really incredible because it's very comedic based, but at the same time it gives you a strong plot and characters that you legitimately care for. And with that Imminence and Shadow humor, they somehow make it serious and make it humorous at the same time and make you laugh where in moments where you're legitimately supposed to be in this serious, tense mode. That they somehow do that and make you laugh at the same time, and that's what's special about this. Having that dreary dread tension, dilemma, and facing the consequences for the characters. Like, at the beginning of the episode, it literally slaps you in the face of how every man has done to Claire in the show. I'll kill them all! That's how hard the beginning of this episode went. Think about the last episode, how it ended. It was anticlimactic as hell, and I legitimately thought that this could be an ending, and it would make sense with the humor of the show that this arc could end this way and just move on with the plot in a totally different direction. We knew that the Blood Queen's heart was still there, but we didn't know what could come from this cliffhanger. Then all of a sudden, after Shadow leaves after being confused to where this last boss is, shit hits the fan real quick. Claire and Mary show up and only to find a Sid lookalike. Thank goodness Claire recognized that this NPC was different from the other Sid lookalike NPC, which means this isn't Sid. And while she's complaining, Mary notices the awakening of Elizabeth, and with Claire's back turned and her livid over this body not being Sid, what was initially a hilarious moment until holy this happened at the beginning of the episode, guys. It's the tone setter. Claire pulls this Bishonen vamp style from the previous episode and gets completely impaled in the shoulder. This is pretty much karma for Claire, considering how abusive she is towards Sid. The Blood Queen Elizabeth starts to revive and she starts to go on a rampage like Mary's origin story she stated in the previous episode. After she shoots out one of her long red tentacles into Claire's shoulder, she pulls her in like Griffith did Casca at the end of the Golden Age arc in Berserk, takes a big fat vampire bite out of her. Claire just takes so many L's in this show. Mary continues to stand there like a useless side character on the sideline and just complains while giving us the play-by-play. I honestly really like these tropes in anime. It's the annoying useless character that really doesn't do anything, but at least they provide insight into the fight and tells us how we should think about what's going on. Shadow Garden shows up to save Claire, but the crew only consists of Beta, 664, 665, and 666, aka Rose Oriana. This scene was great for many reasons. We get to actually see Beta fight and not be like her Natsume persona. It's great seeing characters you know in a new light. I guess that's what they call character development. I would just chalk that up to good writing. And what else shows up, guys, is the show's motif of the obliviousness. Earlier in the episode, we all know that Shadow is just pretending and everything, and he just thinks everyone else is role-playing with him. The same thing could be said for Shadow Garden's part, and in this scene, Beta shows that obliviousness in reflection to Shadow. So in this scene, Beta feels like Shadow's got some other better things to do, but in reality, he's out there probably stealing some loot. So that would mean in Beta's head that Shadow left this scene up to her, that it was up to her to handle the last boss and to save his sister. She is totally honored by this task, so she just gets ended up taking the task. Mary continues being that character on the sidelines narrating the battle because the Queen's power is quite frankly just too much. Even Beta's like, god damn, she's more alpha than alpha. And then the wannabe alpha male runs back atop the Crimson Tower to dish out some of his female hate, only for the Blood Queen to sit him down like a good little boy. The Blood Queen Elizabeth thought to herself, why sit down one fake alpha dog when she can sit down all of these betas? Then she unleashes this wide radius attack, thrashes everyone there, especially the fake alpha dog, whom Yukime makes fun of. Then Beta gets into the position, the classic anime trope of take the wounded character and just run. You have something you love and hold onto, right? You gotta save Claire and you gotta get the hell out of here. This is classic anime trope. It just reminds me of that one time that Goku told Gohan to run away with Piccolo, and then the most iconic scene of my generation happened. Here we have a similar setup. Blood Queen Elizabeth puts on her Frieza impression and says, nah, I'm not gonna let you guys get away. I'm gonna do you guys worse and turn you all into demon ball sacks. Beta is surprised that she can manipulate their demon-possessed blood, even though she herself foreshadowed this relationship to the progenitor vamp. As all the Shadow Garden characters, including Claire, they slowly start to turn into these demon NPC balls. However, Beta sees that Claire is getting it the worst, and she reaches out to her to try to solve the problem by reaching out to her. And then, poof. It is the my consciousness is in another plane trope. Claire finds some chick in a doctor's outfit. Turns out it's Aurora cosplaying as a doctor. They make this scene unnecessarily elaborate, like stretching a 2-page paper into a 6-page essay. Through evolution and adaptation, the blood of the vamps and demons come from the same ancestral gene. For some reason, Claire has both of these blood types in her, the demon-possessed blood and also the vampire progenitor blood. As Claire is waking up and seeing this cosplaying Aurora, she questions, who the hell are you and why the hell are you helping me? And Aurora is like, it's because of he, that guy, him. She even says it outright and utters the name Shadow. Aurora opens the door and leaves the room, and flash, we are right back at the Crimson Tower. And Claire's body suddenly arises from her demon NPC transformation, and Mary is like, is that you, Claire? And Beta is like, it's the goddamn witch. And they question, why do you look like that? And Aurora's like, 2 girls, 1 cup. It's been a mighty long time before we saw Aurora do her thing, and she came out to show Claire what a real woman is working with, and showed out against the Blood Queen. The Blood Queen shoots some blood at Aurora, but she stops it entirely because she's the true OG blood. Beta the whole time was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Then Aurora pulls out her panty dropper technique to end the show. I am the all crack slice. And then her body turns to mush, her neck gets sliced, and wrists turn into you go girl. Seeing that Aurora was their one and only hope, the Witch of Calamity said it was all a ruse to just buy time. And Beta's like, for who? Obviously, we all know. It's for that guy. It's for him. Shadow shows up with sparkling gold coin debris flying everywhere. You know our boy has to come with a fire line that matches epic re-entrance. Pakusei no Toki. Kita! With a taste of the Aurora plot twist, there was so much to unwind and think about this whole Aurora deal. Why is she able to take over Claire's body? Where the hell is Aurora? Is Aurora Claire in some way too? Either way, let's just watch the fight. Shadow just stands there and the show's motif of obliviousness. That gag comes back into play. Beta questions why Shadow doesn't just end her like we all know he can, but her panties gets wet when she realizes that Shadow is doing everything that he can to protect her with his slime. In actuality, Shadow must protect at all costs what is near and dear to his heart, what he needs to protect the most, what matters the most to his life. It's that coin. That loot! Shadow blasts off to fight the Blood Queen mid-air as everyone watches on. Juggernaut sits uselessly and envies this amazing fight. In the Spirit Fox, Yukime is having manipulative thoughts towards Shadow. After all the flash and glam of this amazing battle, and the animation that I kinda diss actually looked super amazing, Shadow gives classic major boss battle cliche lines like, playtime's over, Joe. The Blood Queen responds with, before you rip my body apart and blast a giant atomic load on me, give me your name, Tiger. Shadow responds perfectly with, I am Atomic Recovery. And just like that, all the ghoul virus infection and everyone's demon-possessed blood going awry gets cleared. Claire returns to normal, but is totally unconscious. Beta and Shadow Garden begin to clean after Shadow. Rose ends the scene perfectly with that perfect quest for idealism trope from the previous episode. It all comes back to that haven. They want to build this haven because this haven is a place that we can all love and spend time with the people that we love in peace, in harmony. Guys, I can't help but cheer for Rose. I hope Rose finds love in the show. It flashes to the future with some quintessential quadtuplets of Scale and Poe and Quentin and Goldie realizing their purpose in the show is to be the butt. Mary and Claire say their goodbyes with almost a goodbye kiss. Juggernaut foreshadows that he might just pick a fight with Shadow Garden because he hates women. And finally, Claire explains she's got a lot of trials and tribulations in her future that she's going to have to face. And with this whole symbol on her arm that Aurora mentioned that she would have to use that to somehow control her powers. So with all this power swarming inside of her, she's going to have to somehow get powerful enough to control it. And Sid, he's a good little brother and holds her hand, even supporting her by saying that he'll be there for her, that she can totally just beat his ass whenever she wants. Guys, this scene is almost worse than Ori Emo right now. But Sid can't help but feel that he took a big W by the end of this arc because he took all that damn loot from the lawless city. In the meantime, when he was transporting this money, he did lose about half of it, so he can't necessarily retire. But when you have a city with no law, you can bet your ass Shadow will be there to take some loot. And then that is where the episode ends. But after the outro, we get another cliffhanger scene. Sid shows up into the train, and as he enters this train, he turns into Shadow, and he starts talking to someone who eventually ends up being the manipulative looking spirit fox Yukime. To me, guys, this episode was perfection. We have an epic climactic reward for the main plot, and you have this massively built crescendo moment like scene as if it's like an ending to a Demon Slayer arc. And they hit so many perfect anime tropes while weaving in that perfect blend of that Eminence and Shadow humor. Guys, like Sid in the previous episode, I for real orgasmed in my head too because this episode was so damn amazing. So even though I always push towards animes from the very beginning being very, very good, very, very captivating and hook you in, if you stay long enough in certain animes, you get the payoff. In this episode, bringing back Aurora, and because she's connected to the main plot, she is that OG demon, and turning her into this plot twist into another character that really means something to our main character Sid, his sister Claire, and while connecting it to the main plot, that sets up real character development, that sets up real dilemma, because we all know if there's an OG protagonist, you have to set up dilemmas around the character, not straight up fighting last man bosses. It's always about kidnapping or, hijacking or something, right? So Claire acts as that character that can mean something. And not only is this episode special in that way, it puts a character like Beta. We've only seen Beta used in comedic ways, and while this episode did show those funny things, that kind of obliviousness that Shadow and Shadow Garden kind of have, which makes that dynamic between them extremely humorous, she actually gets to fight, and she's leading her own little group of Shadow Garden that includes Rose. And Rose herself is oblivious towards Sid and oblivious toward Beta being Natsume. It's this whole thing, everyone's super oblivious. I just love it, man. And again, at the same time, introducing Juggernaut, introducing Yukime into the show. These are major anime tropes that tend to have big roles in certain arcs. And I like that they're setting up Juggernaut to kind of still be something, and they're setting up Yukime to be a part of this next arc. And we got a hint at Yukime kind of establishing her own kind of red light district. I mean, she is a boss in part of the lawless city. So there's a lot of crazy things that kind of could come out of this. And yeah, guys, from the beginning of the episode, you have that tone setter. So you had Shadow, what he always does in the show. He shows up and he disappears. And once he disappears, that's where all these other characters can shine. And that's where you could kind of let the plot shine. Otherwise, it would end like that previous episode where he just shows up prematurely and blows everything up. And then you don't really have an arc. So you need Shadow to leave so he could come back epically. And it literally works every time. Every time he comes and shows up late, it's always a great payoff. And that's what makes this anime so damn good. It's a show where the main character knows what he needs to do to make the show good. And the fact that it's self-aware of itself, that the writer knows that all these things need to hit in order to make it that amazing so you can make fun of it at the same time, it's just crazy what they're doing, man. I just can't get over it. This is literally my favorite anime, man. I like it more than the manga. Can't say nothing about the light novel. I'm always going to mention this until I tell you guys that I caught up with everything else, like the light novel or the manga. But how I feel about the Eminence of Shadow anime versus the manga is like the opposite of how I feel for like the Chainsaw Man manga versus the anime. Chainsaw Man manga is my favorite manga out. The anime, I like it, but it's just not the same versus the manga, and that's perfectly fine. Different mediums, and that's how it works in reverse for the Eminence of Shadow. Different medium through the anime, because they can show things and create real crazy epic moments that is not undercut by some comedy. That is what's great about the Eminence of Shadow. It's creating the tension, creating climactic moments that really matter, and creating plot twists that like blows your mind, and still feeding you comedy without undercutting all of that. And yeah, that is the best part about this anime. I love this episode. It was a great payoff. And yeah, let me know what you guys think, because I got a good feeling that everyone loved this episode. Do me a favor, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusen.com. I always write the blog first before I make an episode video review. So if you guys want to check out my blog, go ahead and check that out, otakusen.com. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.